Have you ever known someone who has thrown everything, and I mean everything, into a relationship to the point where you have been left feeling just a little bit suffocated? Well, so have I. This is the Ology podcast. During my college years, I dated a girl who kind of fit that bill. We started dating, and at first, things were going very, very well. We had similar things in common, like humor. We kind of had the same sense of humor. And like food, we liked the same things. And we kind of had the same friends. This new relationship was going great, and it seemed like it was growing in the right direction. But only after a few months, I started feeling a bit suffocated. This girl, of course, she was a very good girl, for sure, no doubt. And me, I, of course, was probably, being a dumb 20-year-old, wasn't really the sharpest tool in the shed, I'm sure. And I had my own faults. I'm sure I played a little bit too much basketball, and I'm sure I probably spent a little bit too much time with my friends. And I know that I didn't make all the right moves. But this was starting to feel like that I couldn't play any basketball, and that I couldn't spend any time with my friends, and I couldn't make any wrong moves without her getting mad, or even worse, her feelings getting hurt. She became increasingly clingy. You know what I mean. She wanted us to spend all of our free time together. And if we didn't, things would turn bad. And she became jealous. She became jealous of everything and everyone. And that was the beginning of the end of our relationship. Jealousy in our world is typically caused by a certain level of insecurity. And that insecurity causes people to become needy. They start to need to feel secure, something that they just can't do for themselves. And it's really not a great thing to deal with for either party. There's a book in the Old Testament called Deuteronomy. And the word Deuteronomy is actually a Greek-derived word that means second law. Not that there are two versions of the law, or that there are actually two laws, like two Torahs, but it's more along the lines of the law repeated. Deuteronomy is a book that retells the story of God's people, the Israelites, and receiving specifically God's laws. This happens after they have been led out of Egypt by Moses, and they had been in the wilderness for 40 years, and now they're on their way back to the promised land. But this generation of people, they really don't know the Lord. Their parents didn't know him, and even their grandparents probably didn't know him either. So generations have gone by here now, and God is trying to give these people some basic rules to live by, guidelines to help nurture a growing and healthy relationship with him. In Deuteronomy chapter 4, God, speaking through Moses, tells the people this. He says, "Be careful not to forget the covenant of the Lord your God that he made with you. Do not make for yourselves an idol in the form of anything the Lord your God has forbidden. For the Lord your God is a consuming fire, a jealous God." There's a word there that really stands out, the word jealous. We just said that in our world, the word jealous is caused by a certain level of insecurity. So does that mean that God is insecure? Does the whole consuming fire thing mean that his jealousy or his insecurity will turn into an anger so fierce that it's like a hot burning fire consuming everything that he's mad at? That may be the thought that has been perpetuated for years and years, but I don't think it's really the case. And maybe we should take a closer look at what's behind the English translation of this word we say jealous that we have here. Now, as you might already know, the Old Testament was originally written in the ancient Hebrew. So when you look at the Hebrew here, the word here is the word kana, which actually does mean jealous, but not in the insecure kind of way that we think of. It means more in the strict kind of way, or kind of in the realm of exclusive. Well, let's go back to the dating couple scenario. If I start dating a girl, it can go two different ways, right? It can either be, number one, a casual or leisurely relationship. That means that both parties have agreed that it's open to dating other people. Or it can go in the second way, which is a serious relationship where both parties agree to be exclusive to one another and that they're not going to date anybody else. Take also a scenario when you have signed a contract of some sort. That agreement is typically between two parties, not a third party or a fourth or a fifth. It's exclusive. God is a lot like that. And he's been pursuing this exclusive relationship for a very, very long time, since all the way back to the Garden of Eden. He entered into a relationship with us as humans from the very beginning, and he isn't looking for an open relationship. He's pursuing an exclusive partnership. And kana, that Hebrew word there, shows that he sees that this partnership with us is not only good, but it's right. It was a part of the original blueprint for the creation of human beings. In his eyes, an exclusive partnership or an exclusive relationship with us is not only good, but it's right. It's the way things are supposed to be. And he will pursue that truth relentlessly. Actually, one Bible commentary says it like this, that God is the severe avenger of those who leave him. That says a lot about how God feels about this relationship. So let's take a look at another illustration of God's jealousy. Again, in the Old Testament, there's a guy whose name is Hosea. Actually, he has a whole book or a section that's dedicated and actually named for him, the book of Hosea. Hosea was a spokesperson for God, one who was given kind of an insider's look into things that were about to happen. And we call these people prophets. Hosea lived in a time when God's people, the Israelites, were divided, actually living in two separate nations, the north and the southern nation. And Hosea lived in the northern kingdom. Hosea was granted a peek into the future by God to see that there was a rising kingdom from the east, the Assyrians, and they were knocking on the doorstep, and that they would eventually conquer Israel. So trouble is coming. Hosea's life would consist of trying to relay a message from God, and that message would be that there is still time to turn back to God and make the relationship right. I mean, there had been hundreds of years of these people, God's people, the Israelites, actually just completely forgetting about God, basically dating other gods, only keeping a casual relationship with God, which is obviously something God was not looking for. So before death and destruction would come to the Israelites, God is saying, hey, there's still time to come back. One main teaching lesson that God would use to help Hosea himself see the importance of this message would be to use Hosea's actual life and his current situation, specifically his marriage. Hosea is married to a woman named Gomer. No, not this Gomer. This Gomer. An interesting name for sure, Gomer, but one that actually means the word complete. Gomer means complete in Hebrew, which is kind of interesting for a name for a woman who really didn't seem all that complete. From the beginning of meeting Hosea in chapter 1, the Lord tells him to go and marry a promiscuous woman. Apparently, Gomer kept trying to find things, men, maybe even women, to fill the void that she had in her life. So it doesn't really seem like she was complete. But Hosea married Gomer, and they had 3 kids together. Maybe Gomer was now becoming more and more complete with her new family. But then again, maybe not. Actually, apparently not, because in chapter 3, the Lord tells Hosea that he needs to go and bring Gomer back home. And this is what he says. Then the Lord said to me, go and love your wife again, even though she commits adultery with another lover. This will illustrate that the Lord still loves Israel, even though the people have turned to other gods and love to worship them. She has returned to her old life, leaving behind her new life, her family. So God takes this moment, Hosea's situation, and he parallels it with the people of Israel. Like Gomer, Israel has gone away from God and acquired other lovers. They have rebelled against the exclusive love relationship with God, and they have gone off to find love somewhere else. So Hosea goes off and he finds Gomer. She was possibly selling herself for money, but definitely living a very promiscuous lifestyle once again. And somehow he finds her enslaved. So Hosea lovingly pays for her release, and he brings her back home to her rightful place and back into the true loving relationship of her marriage. Hosea is mirroring God here. He has become the severe avenger of those who leave him, relentlessly pursuing what is right and what is true, doing whatever he has to do to make the relationship whole again. This is what healthy jealousy looks like. God isn't some insecure being wanting to fulfill his own voids with anything and everything. He isn't needing to suffocate human beings because he's incomplete. Healthy jealousy is actually born out of pure love. That love drives a desire for what is right. That is the very core of who God is deep down. He knows and he understands that this relationship, this partnership, this marriage, if you will, with us is what is right and pure and true. And he will do whatever it takes to pursue that exclusive partnership with us, no matter the cost. He is the severe avenger who goes to incredible lengths to bring about restoration, to make what is supposed to be right, pure, and true complete.